Hello and welcome to Zasaa and a Zasaa Zooms In. I am so excited about today because I've got one of my girls. You haven't met her before, so please be kind. She's like, I've been trying to get her on for forever, but her schedule, which you will find out about as we talk, is crazy. But today she has graced me with her presence, so I'm going to take advantage. And this is my friend Karin. Hello, Karin. Thank you for coming on Zasaa. About time too.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me. Yes.
Okay, Karin.
Yes.
Now that I have you here, I want to talk to you about everything. But I'm going to start with parenting.
Yes.
And the reason I'm going to start with parenting is because you are a mother of, can you guess, 7 children.
Yes. 7.
Mum of 7. Mum of 7. So there must be I don't even know where to start because parenting is such a huge thing. So it's not like, but okay, maybe I should start by saying, if you were giving how should we play this? Do we want to do like?
Well, I think we should start with us. I mean,
With
that's
us, yes.
we met through our children, didn't we?
Actually, so let me tell you the story, right? What number were you on? You were on number 3. Your number 3 was my number 1. No, you're number 4.
My number 4.
You're number 4. Her number 4 was classmates with my number 1.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether you did this deliberately or not, but I'm very much for, when I was a new parent and I wanted to learn everything I could. So when they offered us parenting classes at our primary school, I was like, yes, I want to go for these. And that's where I met Karin, at the parenting classes.
That's right,
at primary school. And we've been friends ever since. That's like, these children we're talking about are 23 now.
Yes,
So that's what, 20, well, not quite 20, no, it's less than 20 years because we met them when they were 4. So 90 or whatever. You do the maths. So, you said something to me when I was about to have, so I had number 1 and I had number 2. And when I was about to have number 3, you said something to me that I always refer to. And you would have heard me say this before. She is the person that I talk about when I say my friend. You said to me, okay, right, Tineke.
It sounds like me already.
Yeah, you said, right, Tineke. This is now, you've only got 2 hands. You're outnumbered now because you've got your 2 kids already. You're outnumbered. Yeah. This is now a military regime.
Yes.
You put things in place, you put things in order, and you run the household like a military regime. Yes. And honest to God, that saved my life because that's what I did. Yes. Because I just suddenly thought. So you see, I guess that was from experience you said that.
I think there are 2 aspects of that. You do need to run it like a military operation. You need to have things in place, you need to have support in place, and you need to use those resources that you have and those people around you. But on a parallel, you also need to embrace the chaos.
What does that mean?
Because things are not always going to go the way you think they're going to go or the way you plan they're going to go. And 9 times out of 10, actually, they're not going to with kids.
You didn't tell me that.
And you have to embrace the chaos, but you do have to operate like a military maneuver in the way that you need to access all your resources in order to be able to function.
And I think it's interesting because you said something there about support, and one of the things that we did straight on right from the parenting classes was because you were having challenges getting to the parenting classes on time because of the other kids you had to drop off. So we had this system where you dropped off the kids at mine and then so I think that support system, I think people forget, sometimes as women, we don't like to ask for help for whatever reason. No, we don't know that just a little bit of help would change the entire situation. And I always remember that because Annie, the lady that taught us, was so like, okay, so how are we going to solve this problem? Because Karin cannot be late. She needs to be here on time. So how are we going to solve it? She kind of threw it back at us that, what are you guys going to do to make sure that we're
she
all,
get here on
time? So I remember that. And I've always had that support system thing as being a very critical part of parenting.
Oh, it's huge. It's absolutely a huge part of parenting. And I think it's, as especially as new mothers, you I believe that the social pressure is to be the perfect mum, to do it well, to be strong and clean and clear about your role, and to do it alone. And it's just not possible. It's not possible. It's such an overwhelming experience that you need support, and you need to be able to reach out to people in a way that, I mean, it is, especially when you first have your first child and you are unaware of what you're walking into. It's a whole different world, and it's exhausting. It's bone deep exhausting. It's bone deep exhausting.
Bone deep exhausting.
And you expect to be able to do all of this stuff, and it's just.
Yeah, but you see, what I don't understand is, why do we have that expectation? Is it just society that? Because why don't we know that actually we're stepping into something? Is it because our parents didn't tell us, our mums didn't tell us, that we're stepping into something that is so much bigger than us? You know what I mean? That we are going to need help. Because I think women are very resilient, we're very capable, we're very, you know what I mean?
Hugely.
Anyway, and I don't know why, maybe that's why we feel like we should be able to do it without, because, you know, sometimes I always say to new mothers, well, I used to, I don't, now they don't come to me anymore for advice, but I always used to say to new mothers that, you know, forget about when the child is sleep, you know what I mean? Because we're so busy trying to make everything perfect, if you like, or make sure that or keep the house running. But I don't know how much of that is us and how much of that is society. You know what I mean? Like we don't want someone, we feel like that's what we're supposed to be doing.
I think that the society thing is probably on two levels. I think the breakdown of the family unit has played a huge part in it, in that a lot of families don't have the support available to them. And also, as being a woman who wants to go out into the world and do my thing and do my best, we're now told we can have it all. And I'm not sure that having it all is really a great thing. I mean, I'm sure there are women out there, and praise to you, whoever you are, who have a job and have a family, and they manage to negotiate all of that. But I think they manage to negotiate all of that with help.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because early on I asked a couple of women that very question, can a woman have it all? And we had different answers. It was very interesting. But I was saying to them, I mean, my conclusion and my opinion is that it depends on what all is.
Yes,
and
I agree.
For me, all is peace. So I think you can have it all if, you know, but traditionally when you think, can a woman have it all, that's what you're thinking of: family, job, look beautiful, you know, like everything, like working, you know. So I think, but I think you're right. Sometimes the women that have it all, or appear to have it all, when we're looking at it in that traditional way, do have help, and sometimes we don't know about it.
Yeah, well, it's not the content, is it? When they're producing things, that's not the content of the backup system that we have. But I think that's a very good point. What is having it all is down to your personal perspective. What is all to you? To me, all was everything. I wanted everything. I wanted the perfect family. I wanted the perfect relationship. I wanted the perfect job. I wanted everything, and I was not prepared for any of it at all. None of it.
But do you think that you had the perfect everything before the parenting came in?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
No, I was a headless chicken most of the time, yeah.
Okay, all right. So back to parenting now. You have both sexes, both genders.
Yes.
And because sometimes I feel like, do you think it's different?
Oh gosh, hugely. Hugely.
So you actually think, because I think that is very different, male and female. But you know, Toya spoiled me. He wasn't a typical, maybe what you would expect for a boy. You know, like, he spoiled me, so I wasn't prepared when my next one came, even though she was a girl. And then, you know, as I think sometimes, but I do think that is so different, and the way that we raise them. Well, actually, let me take that back. I think it's different, but I actually think I've learned that we have to raise them individually.
Yes.
As opposed to raise the boys the same, raise the girls the same. But there's certain things that will cross over for all girls and all boys. So how many girls do you have? Oh, you have 3 of each, don't you?
Well, I have 3 boys, 3 girls, and 1 adopted boy.
Oh yeah, 7. Sorry, can't add up there. So you have 4 boys, 3 girls.
Yeah.
How do you raise your boys differently? What did you do differently with your boys, if anything?
I think that I used to think that we would try to raise them all the same, but actually all of my children are so different in characters that you couldn't possibly raise them all the same. And also as a mother, I was learning as I grew with each child. So with the first one, I was I didn't have any experience whatsoever. But the question was, how is it different boys to girls? I think obviously we've all been affected by society and how society imprints us as women and as men, and I think that does come across in when you're raising your children. And over a period of time, with a little bit of awareness and with some education, I changed and developed so that it was less gender specific and more person specific, perhaps.
Well, it's funny because I always say that I feel like my 4 children, I have 4 children, my 4 children were raised by 4 different sets of parents.
Yes.
Because it's dependent on where, like for example, with you, when you started, you were still very young. You know what I mean? Like, it depends on where you are as parents at that time. And so where you were in 1984 and where you were in 1994, completely different person, you and your husband, completely different people. So the way, so it's like they've got, even though it's the same set of parents, it's like different parents. And it's funny because my number 2, who you know very well, is always saying that I completely, the way I raised the ones behind her is completely different from how I raised her. And she's right. Yeah. But it's just we're in different spaces at the time, so.
And I think a big portion of it is that you're far more relaxed as you come down the chain.
Yeah. And so they get away with murder. You've just tied. I said it on here actually that my last one I think was raised by her siblings. I'm not sure how much I had, how much input I had in there apart from just making sure she was alive. Yes. So I think that there's an element of that you just change. Okay, if you were to give me, let me say 3 things that either you have learnt about parenting that you would advise, like if you were, the way you said to me, look, it's a military, what 3 things, and you can't use the military one, what 3 things would you say to me that, well, to us, about parenting that you've learned or that you think, or maybe that you would do differently, or what, I don't know, anything. 3.
Perfect mother doesn't exist. The perfect mother does not exist. It
really?
Does. A fallacy. Don't try to live up to it. You be the best person you can. You are enough. You are enough as a mother. You are enough as a mother. You are enough. We make mistakes along the way. We learn from them. That's life.
But I think that is so key, because I think sometimes as parents, we don't like to admit to our children that we have made mistakes, or that we don't know the answer, or that we don't know. And I think that is a big mistake. I actually think that that's we were talking about this in the car, we hear that sometimes we make ourselves seem like what we're not to our kids, sometimes deliberately, maybe other times not so deliberately, but it's giving them a false impression of what reality is. And I think that we have to learn to apologize to our kids, to say, you know what, I don't know the answer. I say Google it. Because I don't know, they just go and Google it, go and find out for yourself, because they expect you to know everything.
Yes.
Although nowadays I think slightly different with my youngest, because the world is there, they literally have everything at their fingertips. But generally I think it's so important to be able to admit that we're human. I think that's the bottom line.
I think it's a balancing act, isn't it? And it changes over time, because you want to create a safe environment for your child.
Yeah.
And that at a young age is very much dependent on them understanding that you are the safe space. But at the same time, creating a fallacy that you know everything and can protect them from everything is it's not helpful to them, and it doesn't build any resilience, which is, I think, something that is quite key in the young people these days.
Yeah, I think a lot of young people these days don't have the resilience that we had, that we have. You know, it's a different life, I guess, but I think that you're right. We're not even helping them to have the little resilience that they potentially could have. Yeah. Okay, so the first thing is there's no such thing as perfect mother.
There's no such thing.
Second thing.
The second thing
Am
about
I putting you under pressure?
Sorry.
you can say that's it. I only have one thing.
No, the three things about parenting, the three most important things. Ask for help. Ask for help. No, it doesn't make you any less of a parent. Ask for help. I think that's huge.
It's really huge, and I learned that because I always felt, my husband would do anything for me. However, when I had my second child, I don't really remember it with the first child, but I think when I had the second, because now I had two, when I had the second child, I felt like, surely you can see I need help. I'm thinking he can see it. Somehow I feel like men can't see. Maybe he's thinking she's capable, I don't know what he was thinking, but he wasn't helping how I expected him to help. And I had to learn to ask for help, because there's nothing I ask him for that he won't do. However, it just didn't seem to come to him to do it like maybe as naturally as because I'm thinking if I was watching this situation, I would be able to see that this person needs help and I should step in and help. Yes. However, maybe men don't think like women. I'm not really sure what it is. But anyway, he didn't see it like that. So I had to learn to ask for help. And I think it was a really big thing for me, because I was even annoyed that why do I have to ask you for help? Surely you can see. But I think it's such an important one, asking for help, because I think we don't. And I don't know why we don't. Because this is even with my husband. You know what I mean? Yes. Let alone outside of, I'm asking my husband for help and I'm angry that I have to ask him for help. Let alone asking someone outside. But maybe sometimes it's easier to ask outside. I don't know. I think.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it depends on the relationship that you have, doesn't it? And some people don't have that option anyway. Yeah. Because families are a very different setup these days.
Yeah, I remember when we were, I think I was in university, and then we had a friend who was a single mom, so she'd had a child at 18, maybe, I don't know, quite young. And I remember she was always, every opportunity that she had, she would be looking for someone to take care of him or someone for him to sleep over with and everything. And I remember thinking, doesn't she want to spend any time with her child? Like this is, it's almost like a bit much. But when I became a mum, and I wasn't a single parent, I suddenly got it. I thought, poor girl, she just wanted to breathe. That was her asking for help without actually asking for help. But she just needed some time to just breathe, to be alone, whatever. And so she was always trying to so kudos to her. Now I'm like, okay, well done her for even having the guts to ask. But at the time I was just like, oh gosh, it's your child. Why are you constantly fobbing him off on people? And it wasn't so much because I didn't want him. It was just like, don't you want him? Yeah. But I got it. It.
I think that's probably maybe the third thing is you need to take care of yourself. Because you are the primary, as the parent, you are the primary carer. If you are not okay, no one's okay. And trying to put yourself first seems initially as a really selfish act. But if you are not healthy, if you have not slept, then it reverberates down through the family on everything and every situation. Yeah,
no, and I think that's one that a lot of women struggle with because of almost like the guilt that comes with it. But I again, another thing that I had to learn was that, I was like, no, I had to learn it, but I also had to get to a point where I trusted my husband to actually take care of the child. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes, I won't tell the story of what happened one day when I was supposed to be sleeping. I'm like, what were you doing? But, it's like, you almost have to let go. To let go. But also, to let go, you have to trust the person you're letting go. You know what I mean? Because, but I had to learn to actually take that. And I say it to my kids now, they know, like when I'm traveling or whatever, I'm like, look, if I'm not well, you're not well. I want to go away for 3 weeks. Let me go away for 3 weeks. When I come back, you will be well. You know what I mean? Because you just have to, whatever it is that you do, I mean, it might be a massage, it might be, I like traveling. So whatever it is that you have to do to get yourself back to be willing. But what I also do is I go knowing that when I come back, I'm coming back to role of mom. You know, because I don't go thinking, yeah, you know, I know that it's a holiday as opposed to a lifestyle.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because I'm still going to come back to the reality of my situation when I come back. And I think sometimes, but I think that taking care of yourself,
It's huge.
So key.
I think you need to, I think the guilt is massive. And your needs are always the last one on the list. And like you said about your initial assessment of the single mum, a lot of people will look at you and you feel it. You feel their judgment. You feel that they are, why are you not with your child? Why are you giving them away? You're not a good mum. You can't take any of that on board. You have to, and I'm not saying you don't have any time with your child and you constantly, but mentally you have to take, mentally and physically, you do have to take a little moment for you, just so that you're okay, so that you can carry on.
yeah, I mean, I always say this, that you were you first. By yourself before your husband came, because I always say this, especially with women, you know, because sometimes, well, we're going to talk about this later about losing yourself, you know, like you were you, and then you get married, you are still you, or you should still be you, but we tend to lose ourselves. And before you became a mother, you're still you know what I mean? As in you, essentially, you're the common denominator or whatever in all these things, and if you lose you, well, chaos.
Chaos for everyone.
Chaos for everyone, yes. But I think sometimes we find this out. I wonder if we're saying this in retrospect, how much of it we knew. I mean, I think I had a bit of knowledge just because I am that way inclined, like, you know.
I had no knowledge. I didn't. I thought I would be able to do everything and it would be okay. So wrong. So wrong.
Oh my goodness. So at what point did you realize that you couldn't do everything? After what child? Did you realize after child 1?
That I couldn't do everything.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Child 1. That was like, holy, what has just happened?
Yeah.
The lack of sleep, the constant vigilance over this child. I am responsible for this child's life.
Yeah.
100%. And I think letting go of that is part of the thing that we feel, even if it is to our husbands. That baby grew inside my body. I am the one responsible.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether he's my husband and the father of the child, I am responsible. And that letting go was very difficult, in that when I was exhausted, I definitely could let go, but then I would be racked with guilt. Racked with guilt.
Was that, and that was all from you? Nobody was putting that on you?
I think society puts that on us as well.
But it wasn't like Simon was putting that on you?
No.
Simon is her husband.
Simon's
Okay. No, because I think, yeah, you know, it's funny because I remember when I was stay-at-home mom for a period of time, and I remember people would say, oh, you know, like it was like why would you be a stay-at-home mom? You know, which was, but then it now became almost like a trendy thing where people wanted to be a stay-at-home mom because it showed that you were good. I mean, it didn't show that you were, I just chose to do that because I felt like I wanted to be the one putting into my kids until a certain age. I didn't know I would have 4 and I would have such spaces between the 4 and then I would be at home for forever. But you know what I mean? When I started out, I was like, okay, I want to be the one, because they say from 0 to 7, I think, is when the child, you know, you form the child's, you put all the good stuff in. From age 7, it's all in already, so you can't add anything. So I'm like, let me be the one to put whatever I'm putting in from 0 to 7, so that at least I know what has gone in. So I decided to stay at home. But I remember, you know, there were people, and I used to say with such pride, because I was so proud. You know, they say, what do you do? I'll say, I'm a mother. You know, that's my job. I'm a mother. And I was but I would get some looks, you know. So it was almost like the other side of the coin where they're thinking, oh, she's just a mother, you know. But yeah, it's interesting. So
I think that's definitely what people in general in society think. There is no There is no pride anymore in being a mother, not from the outside.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult because it's probably, no, not probably, it's absolutely the most difficult thing I've ever had to do is be a mum.
Yeah. And yeah, you know, it's like you say, you're responsible for lives that could be, yeah, I mean, they could be the president of the world. You know what I mean? You don't know where they're going to be, these children that you're looking after. So it's yeah, huge responsibility. Anyway, look at that. You see, I told you time is going to fly. We are literally out of time. So, okay, as you know, parenting is a huge topic. We have scraped the surface, if that, which is what we always do on Chez Zasaa. So look, all right. I'm hoping that it will get you talking. You guys will have your own conversations about parenting, what you've learned, what you wish you'd done differently, etc. And let us know what you think. What were the three, what question to ask you? What are the three things that you say were the most important thing that you've learned about parenting? Is that what I can't remember what you heard the question I asked her, but anyway, what three things would you say are the most important things that you have learned about parenting? Let us know and follow us on YouTube. What else? Let us know what else you would like us to discuss about parenting, because we have, you know, parenting is huge. So let us know what other topics you would like us to discuss. We'll see you next time.